Hello and welcome to a Saturday evening edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. We are recording this shortly after Real Madrid going to Girona, top of the table Girona, in what was a heavyweight, massive game at the top of the La Liga table. Real Madrid go in and beat Girona 3-0. Bellingham scores again to kickstart one of the best starts to a Real Madrid career we have seen in recent memory, recent history. And Joselu scores. Camavinga plays left back. That's a huge talking point, which we'll get to. All is good for now. Real Madrid back at the top of the table. Matt Wiltse is here to help me break it down. Matt, how you doing?
Hey, Kiyan, doing well. Yeah, I think it was an exciting game. Obviously, really positive result for Real Madrid. I think some good takeaways, some interesting takeaways, and nearly. I guess we could start right here. We nearly start by giving away 2 goals and continuing this theme of conceding early goals within matches. Those 2 plays were both crosses to the back post that Girona nearly scored from one hit the post. What do you think this is? Like, what do you think is causing the team to just start these matches this way? Like, I'm obviously they're talking about it. Ancelotti talks about it almost after every post-match press conference. What do you think is? I don't know how to put my thumb on it.
No one knows. No one knows. No one in the team knows. Fans will give their opinions. I don't think they know either. Zidane, this was prevalent under Zidane too. Zidane, after every post-game, in every post-game press conference, would say, "We know we need to start better, even though we know that we can't for whatever reason." There's games that have been better than others. This was overall a really good performance. I don't think the first few minutes necessarily would have predicted that, because the first few minutes were pretty poor. I mean, there was 2 sequences in particular. One was the Kepa giveaway under pressure, and then the other one, the cross at the far post, which Camavinga, that was probably actually his biggest mistake of the entire game, was letting that man right behind him at the far post, and it hits the post. Other than that, it was a pretty good performance, I thought. Why don't we start at the top? I was telling Lucas in Madrid when I recorded with him, because we saw the starting lineup at the Metropolitano in the derby, and both him and I were critical of it before the game started. Lucas is pretty quick to go on Twitter and complain about the starting lineup. I told him I have this rule where even if I don't like the lineup, I don't comment on it until after the game is over, because things may unfold differently than what we think. So I saw a lot of outrage over Camavinga starting at left back, and to me, it was interesting and unexpected, because last season it kind of makes sense to put Camavinga there because Mendy's injured half the season. You don't have any other left back. This year, and right now, you have both Mendy and Fran Garcia available. 2 pure left backs who didn't get a lick in this game, and were preferred, or were cast aside for a more, let's just say, unnatural left back, Camavinga. And a lot of people had their theories why, and some people say, because Camavinga is undroppable, and you want to have him on the field, and you're already struggling so much to get Kroos and Waters to playing time, this is another way to squeeze them all in. Bellingham plays in an advanced role. Camavinga plays left back. Left back, you can squeeze in Kroos. Perfect. Good to go. I got to say, Matt, from start to finish, and I don't think this is a controversial take. I don't know what your thoughts are, but to me, this was the best performance from a left back we've had this season. From start to finish, from a two-way perspective, I thought his 1v1 defending on that flank was spectacular. He was tremendous under pressure. His dribbling, his shoulder drops. I mean, the way there were a couple moments where he went to an inverted left-back role to help escape pressure. I thought it was really good. I mean, there have been spurts at left-back, like Fran Garcia's 2 assists, for example, in that second half. Was that against Real Sociedad? But from like a start to finish standpoint, I thought this was the best. And it's worth noting. I'm not going to sit here and say this should be our starting left back now every game. I think there are games maybe that matchup doesn't make sense. But it's like it's hard to argue when you see him perform the way he does in a position where we might not necessarily see it as his best position.
100%. 100%. I think this was the best performance we've seen from a left back all year, and I think this was Camavinga's best performance all season. And so I think you said like just worth noting and maybe not worth a discussion or not, maybe doesn't start in this type of role for the remainder of the season or for certain contexts. But honestly, I think we're at the point where we need to have a bigger discussion on, is Camavinga actually a left back? I think it's gotten to that point. I think we have a large enough sample size now against the best teams too, where he's played out of his skin and we're like, oh my God, this is the closest thing to Marcelo we've ever seen. And he's obviously different to Marcelo, but like his tackles, he had 9 tackles today. Ridiculous. An astounding number. And I just think he was nearly foot perfect. He can beat players off the dribble from that position. He's press resistant. He can counter press really well. He combines well with Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. down the left. Like, there's nothing he can't do. And like, he's our best left back in the squad. Plus, it lets you keep Kroos on the pitch, who's, in my opinion, your best midfielder in the squad. So I think for the rest of the season, I think he's going to play a lot of left back, and I think the discussion should be, is Camavinga actually a left back now? And whether or not, he may not love that position, but that's where he performs best, so he's going to have to grow to love that position.
So there's like all these reports in the Spanish press that Real Madrid hate when Ancelotti plays Camavinga there. Camavinga hates it. Ancelotti has trusted him there. I don't think he trusts Fran Garcia or Mendy the way he trusts Camavinga at that left back position particularly. And I don't necessarily blame him, because Fran Garcia is still going through some growing pains, although I think I still rate him pretty highly and I think he has a good ceiling. Mendy just hasn't been himself defensively for a couple of years now, and obviously we know his limitations on offense. If you look at the totality of Camavinga's left back cameos, the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is the second leg against City, where that he just got cooked by Bernardo Silva. I guess the question is, how much...
He also had an assist in the first leg to Vinicius after winning the ball off of Bernardo Silva, and I think the counter argument to that is, what would have happened to Frank or Mendy against Bernardo Silva in that Man City team?
Well, that's where I was going. The thing is, the first leg, he actually not only had that assist, he actually put Bernardo Silva in his pocket, like defensively too. The second leg, the entire team was getting cooked. And I think that was just a really bad place to be for everybody for a variety of reasons we've already discussed to death. So then the question is, how much do you want to hold that against him, for getting cooked when the entire team was getting cooked by one of the best teams we've seen in the last 10 years? There's that. I also think back to the Camavinga left back experience from last season. If you look at the chronological kind of history of how we were analyzing it, he was playing really well there at left back. And then we would always say, well, okay, he hasn't really gone up against a team that has been able to test him on defense, to make those runs in behind. And then we went into that Clásico at the Camp Nou, and Rafinha was like the first real winger who we're looking at, and like, this guy could give him some problems. And Camavinga just put Rafinha like in a prison cell. Like, he just destroyed him. And then he did another great job against Bernardo Silva, and then the second leg was the one that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb again. But I don't like...
Who were the other teams? I'm blanking on who the other teams were in the knockout rounds of the Champions League, but he had to play left back a lot of those games as well, and did it really well.
I know against Liverpool, Nacho was doing it, and Camavinga was playing midfield, those ones. Then that leaves... Who was the other team we played?
Chelsea? No.
Chelsea, yeah. Oh, Chelsea was mixed bag, because at Stamford Bridge, he was having some difficulty, and Kante was playing that weird like false nine role. And then midway through the first half, Carlo Ancelotti swapped Modric and Fede on the left.
Fede,
yeah, and that helped defensively a little bit. Like he was playing on an island by himself in that moment. And so it's hard to hold out against him. I guess the point is like he's really good almost wherever you put him. He's looked really good at left back. And the worst of it has been the second leg against City, which, again, how much do you want to hold it against him because of the circumstances? I don't know. I guess it's just hard to argue for a couple of reasons. Like I get there's like, I understand, by the way, like just to sympathize with those who don't want him there. And I don't know where I am necessarily in that camp yet, because I just think as long as he's on the field, I'm like somewhat happy because I just want him on the field. But the reason I sympathize with the people who are frustrated with Camavinga playing there is because, like, okay, we have two left backs who need playing time, who need rhythm, who need confidence, and Camavinga is so good in the 8 role. But I also think like I'm a huge believer in Toni Kroos. Like, I think Toni Kroos in this starting lineup makes sense and complements the rest of our physical midfielders really well. But it's all about pairings. Like, if you pair him with Fran Garcia, it's bad defensively. If you pair him with Camavinga and Tchouameni next to him, it's fine. And this is just another way to fit in all of your million midfielders. So I don't know. I'm kind of like on the fence with this one. I just can't really argue anytime Ancelotti puts him at left back anymore because, as you said, we have enough sample size to know that he's really good there. So I don't know how much you want to argue against it, is my point.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ancelotti has to get his best 11 players on the field. Yeah. And this is a way to do that without hurting the team.
That's the bottom line. This is really, on paper, like, this is the best way to get all of your best players on the field is probably this. This kind of, like, before the season started, this was similar, not exactly like this, but, these are basically the best players I think we have on the team that needs to be on the field the most, is what we saw today. Apart from Rodrygo, who was on the bench, although Joselu, like, you can't knock him, man. Like, scored a goal, had an assist today. It's great to see him in this kind of form. And I want to say, like, part of me has changed my opinion because heading into this season, I was thinking like Rodrygo as a false nine makes more sense because he's just more talented than Joselu. But as I've seen this kind of season unfold, and I'm curious to know what your stance is, I'm starting to really, really value the presence that Joselu brings in the box. Like, even there were a few moments in this game where Vinicius just looks up, and Vinicius didn't have a great game by any means, but he just looks up and he just has a target. He can just quickly whip the ball into the box. Like, and someone who can get it. You don't even have to put a perfect ball into the box for Joselu. Just put it in his range, and he'll throw some bodies around and get on the end of it. It's great for Bellingham because Bellingham is such a brilliant passer into the box. And for him to have an outlet is huge. And this goes back to the Simeone quote after the Atletico game, where he said, like, it was basically easier for us to defend because Bellingham didn't have a target in the box to hit. Where are you on that? Like, the Joselu Rodrygo dilemma? Have you changed your opinion a little bit on it?
I still need to. I want to see the Vinicius, Rodrygo, Bellingham sample size more before I kind of have a definitive answer there.
Yeah, what's it been? Like one game, basically 2 games.
Well, preseason it looks pretty good. So I liked what I saw in preseason. And yeah, the 1 or 2 games we had at the start of the season. So I want to see more of that before I can like have a definitive answer. But the good news is Joselu's playing so well that we do have this conundrum. Like, this is a serious question, which I don't know that many expected that to be a serious question at the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Joselu was going to get his playing time. I thought it was mostly going to be off the bench. But right now, I think this is a really good problem to have because he's given Carlo really something to think about, and I've really liked him so far. Again, I don't expect him to be this incredible Harry Kane type figure, but given his price tag, given the expectations we've had of him this season, I've been impressed.
So Ruben shared a chart with me that was really interesting. So it basically showed like best strikers by non-penalty XG and I think a few other metrics, and it showed Joselu at Espanyol versus Joselu at Real Madrid, and like when he was at Espanyol, he was kind of mid-tier, low-tier range of strikers, while at Real Madrid, he's in the Harry Kane category. So it's pretty interesting to see like his characteristics put in this team and how it just helps accentuate his game, and kind of he's evolved being a part of this team because he's just going to get so many chances. Like think about all the goals he's missed already. He has 4 goals in La Liga, but how many did he miss in that Champions League game? How many has he missed like hit the crossbar or hit right at the goalkeeper? Like he could be up to 6 or 7, 8 goals already right now, pretty easily. So
I believe. I mean, yeah. I believe with his goal today, he has now officially exceeded his XG. So I think his XG, it was 3.3 before this game.
That's La Liga only, though, right?
That's La Liga only. Yeah, yeah. Champions League
game, he had like
11 shots, XG of 1.2 on that one.
Yeah,
for him individually. That was the 11 shot game, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. This season in La Liga, he's first in the league in shots on target. He's just getting like a really high volume of shots on.
And this has been my big thing, Kiyan. Like I know we did a whole podcast on it, but I strongly believe that goals are not going to be the problem with this team. We create so many opportunities. You have so many players in this team that can create something out of nothing. Bellingham and Joselu combined have already picked up the goal load that Benzema left. Now we just need Vinicius and Rodrygo to get going, and then you get scraps from Brahim, Tchouameni, Valverde, so on and so forth. Like that's all you need. Goals won't be a problem.
Yeah. I think something to keep in mind is that during this entire stretch up until now, we haven't had Vinicius. And that should be noted in any analysis of, the offensive struggles this season so far. We haven't had...
I don't think the offense has struggled.
I think it struggled in the sense that...
maybe they haven't finished what they've created a ton of opportunities.
No, that it struggled in the sense of conversion purely, I think.
Yeah, conversion.
Yeah. Which look, it's part of it too. Like apart from
but my thing is they're creating so much that it doesn't even matter that they're not converting everything because they just have to convert some of it, which they have.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think and again, like with Vinicius back, like this should accentuate the offense. Like ignoring just the fact that right now I think he's just kind of trying to find his feet and get into rhythm as he returns. Yeah. There's going to be games like the Atletico game, though, Matt, where I think are just going to be a little bit harder, and it's kind of like you're kind of dragging your feet through quicksand, and it's a little bit more laborious. And if your defense is not on point, it's going to be hard to overcome those deficits. Like the Atletico game was eye-opening to me in the sense that it was our first big test, and I just did not like the way we defended. And maybe that's an anomaly because Atletico is just so good defensively. When you go down a couple goals against them, it's just going to be really hard to dig yourself out of that. But the defense does need to improve, in my opinion. There are ways to do that. I think today, apart from the first few minutes, it was generally good. The other thing to note about the Atletico game was that Tchouameni was not in the field. Tchouameni was brilliant today. He was awesome. Incredible. You could argue, though, apart from the goal we conceded. I'm sorry, the goal we conceded. One of those chances early on, during Girona's wave.
Yeah.
Angel Herrera was untracked in the box, and Tchouameni could have done better. But apart from that, and again, I was looking at Tchouameni and Camavinga his performance overall in this game. Unless I missed it, and maybe I did. I'm not saying my analysis is perfect, and I'm sure I missed some stuff. But from what I remember, they both really made one mistake each, and then were foot perfect pretty much the entire way through. Like Tchouameni was fantastic today, and he still, to me, probably is the best counter presser on the team. The way he can just pop up and win possession from anywhere, whether it's right after we lost the ball or whether it's reading a great interception coming out of the back. His challenges in midfield, fantastic. He had two really, really clean and important tackles inside the box. Of course, the third goal, it was his defensive read, and then he joins the attack for the Bellingham goal. He looked great. So I guess the reason why I keep bringing the Atletico game up and trying to figure out how much to read into it is I don't think Carlo can look at a big game and bench him again and label it as rest. If you're going to rest him in the games surrounding it. But I don't think you can go into a big game without him, man. He's just way too important for the team's balance.
100, yeah. I mean, he was fantastic today, and I think the caveat to that Atleti game was obviously we didn't play the system or the players we normally play.
Yeah.
And our defense was just atrocious. And that's what I think is the bigger concern rather than the goal scoring. No, but Tchouameni, I was surprised this was his first goal for Real Madrid. I couldn't believe it.
I was shocked. I don't know why.
I thought he scored.
Me too. I was shocked when I realized that.
But I feel like I've seen that goal, him score that goal for Monaco. I feel like I've seen it in the highlights, like him popping up in it with a header off a corner kick or something. So nice to see him bring that to the table. I think he does have a solid aerial presence and should get some more goals off corners.
He is the type of guy where I think if he should probably have more Real Madrid goals than he's had. I don't think it's normal for him to go like a season and a half without a goal. Yeah. Granted, he had that injury after the World Cup last year, and then he played less, so that kind of buys into it too. But he has enough shooting ability from distance and also his aerial presence, as you put it. He's really good in the air. I just feel like probably I think he's 3 goal a season type of player. I think he can do that. You noted on Twitter that this wasn't necessarily a rigid diamond, that it was more fluid. And I noticed that too. Especially in Fede's role, I felt Fede was floating quite a bit off the ball. What did you mean by that? What is it that you saw today from a fluidity standpoint in the build-up structure?
Yeah. I mean, the team, I would say, didn't play a diamond at all today. Maybe there were a few moments where you saw it, but for the most part, it was not a diamond formation. It was a 4-4-2 with Bellingham as the left midfielder, Valverde as the right midfielder. But as you mentioned, I think Valverde had more room to roam than even Bellingham. He kind of stuck to that left-hand side. And if you look at his heat map, it's almost all down the left flank. Valverde actually popped up in the number 10 diamond role more so than Bellingham did. And I thought it was really interesting, and I liked it more than I thought I would. Bellingham and Vinicius combined really well down the left, and I thought you got Bellingham was just involved more in that position than he normally is, and can pick it up in deeper spots. And he still, despite being deeper on the pitch, he still managed to get, I counted at least 3, including his goal, really good goal scoring opportunities. He got the one, but he could have had 2 other ones. That 1v1 where he outpaced Daley Blind from 20 yards away, and I didn't realize Bellingham was that fast.
Also Blind is slow. It was a combination of both.
Yeah. And then there was another one, if you remember, in the second half inside the box where the ball kind of bobbled around and it was in the 6-yard box and it fell to Bellingham, and he almost managed to score from that one as well. So he had 3 great opportunities, managed to get the one. Really happy to see him continue this goal scoring. Obviously, the assist was beyond ridiculous. Luka Modric-esque, Vinny Jr.-esque,
unreal,
the outside of the boot, and just perfect pass. I think Michel Girona's coach commented on it after the game as well. And yeah, I mean, he's just continuing to perform. I just get it. Like, you just know every time he gets on the ball, you know he's gonna do like, it just feels like he's gonna do something impactful, and he's gonna do something that brings danger or draws a foul in a dangerous area or whatever it may be.
During that initial wave of pressure at the beginning from Girona, I thought Bellingham did his part to help Real Madrid ride the wave. And it was even before the incredible assist. He was playing very deep. And this goes back to your point about this wasn't really the traditional diamond we've seen. And I don't know if there was a situation of the game state, but he was playing quite deep, and he was actually doing some good defensive work in that left half space between Camavinga and Nacho early on. And he was also just dropping deep to help escape pressure too. And I thought he was doing some really important stuff to get the ball up the field, help us escape pressure, help win the ball deep. And then he had the assist, and he says after the game, like the quote was, "I've been watching Luka every single day for 3 months." And, just kind of saying that, I may have picked up a thing or two from Luka Modric. The pass was incredible. To even know that Luka does that, but to execute it on that level is really impressive, because it's the diagonal. If you can actually execute it, if you're in a diagonal position and you're on your weak foot, if you can execute it, the outside of the boot pass is absolutely perfect, because it's just the way it curves when you hit it. It gets right to the striker's feet. I mean, it's an incredible pass, but it requires execution. So Bellingham was awesome. I just want to go back to Camavinga for a second too. The Girona tried a couple things, because they looked at Camavinga left back and thought maybe they could exploit it. So Tseganikov tried to go exploit that space behind Camavinga, but Camavinga locked him down really well. In the second half, they subbed him off and brought on Valery. And him and Savio both kind of they switched flanks, and Savio had no luck either. So that was just another point in Camavinga's favor. I thought Real Madrid did well on the flanks again. Carvajal was impressive defensively again. I was looking at the XG on this, Matt, and I might as well just share my screen here really quick. Because I was a little bit surprised to see Girona's XG at 2.18. And then I realized it was basically all in their first 5 minutes of play. Because look, Yangel Herrera in the second minute, and then you had Tseganikov in the third minute. Those back-to-back massive chances. This game could have been so different if one of those go in, and then Eric Garcia a little bit later in the second half from a set piece. But it goes to show you, we started off pretty brutal, dodged a couple bullets, rode the wave, and pretty much dominated the rest of the way. Any thoughts on Kepa? I know he had that horrible giveaway in the 4th minute, I think it was. Girona have a lot of pressing momentum in those first 5 minutes. And I think his passing continues to be kind of shaky. But I had a really great save in the 50th minute after we left Eric Garcia free on the corner. Any Kepa notes? It doesn't have to be just about today, but overall his season.
He just, I've been surprised. I think I mentioned this to you before. I've been surprised at how poor he's been with his feet. I thought that would be his one really strong quality. And then I think he was solid today and made some good saves, and he was aggressive off his line. I just think sometimes he makes unconventional choices.
Sure.
The one where it comes for a cross and he punches it.
He punches
got the
everything
job done. Yeah, he punched, but I'm why punch it? You didn't need to punch it. And so he does. I just feel like he makes weird and sometimes rash decisions that make me a little bit nervous. But other than that, I thought he was pretty solid today.
What were your thoughts on Vinicius's first start? since his injury.
I just think it's fun to have him back. I
Yeah.
think you can see that he brings something a little bit different. He's just got this creativity and ingenuity. Like he just brings something different. And although he wasn't like his best self today, I still think you see what comes with Vinicius, and he's just recharging the batteries right now. I like the combination play between him and Jude Bellingham, and I think that partnership's only going to blossom.
I agree. I don't think it was his best performance. He had a lot of difficulty getting past his marker, whether it was Tsiganikov or whoever Girona had on that right side. It depends, like whether it was, Yan Couto also came up against him quite a bit. Yankele Herrera coming over to that side. Vinicius didn't really have any success on 1v1s and dribbles. But again, I just kind of felt like this game was more about him acclimatizing himself back into rhythm. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt in this one.
One quick thing too that when you were talking about Carvajal and Camavinga,
Yeah,
Savio's been like the informed player
yeah,
in La Liga, and they both shut them down. Like
yeah.
I saw the flank switch in the second half as Savio's having no success against Carvajal. Like let's try the other flank, and it's still no success. So I think that's a huge testament to them. And testament to Carvalho, who continues to start the season well. Obviously, concern for everyone with the brief injury. Hopefully, that's not a reoccurring theme. But yeah, just wanted to point that out as well.
Um, Rudiger, bunch of clearances. Not to necessarily say he was perfect, because I think the team as a whole, including him, needs to do a little bit better marking set pieces. Had that, just like, I don't know what to call it, but a classic Rudiger sequence, I guess, where he's just like hounding the player, swiping at him. I don't know exactly why, other than it's just Rudiger maybe trying to get in people's heads. Any notes on him?
I think he's been really, really solid. Like since Militao's gone down, I feel like an underrated team has been Rudiger's been just solid, like pretty consistent performances. I would say pretty consistently like a 7 out of 10. And I thought again today, like you said, there were a few moments on crosses or set pieces where he mistimed it aerially or lost track of his mark. But other than that, I think he's been great. I think he brings kind of an edge and an attitude that a lot of fans have been crying out for a long time since Ramos and Pepe left. And I think he brings that. And so I've liked his start to the season.
His center back partner, Nacho, was fine up until the end. I don't know what he was thinking. I was disappointed. I couldn't believe that, especially given our center back situation. We're down to one now because Nacho gets himself a red card, an unnecessary tackle. You're up 3-0. The game is completely dusted. There's no need for that. It was a crazy challenge. It was a clear red card. Ancelotti apologizes to Michel after the game, says sorry, it was a bad tackle. Porto apparently in an ambulance. I don't know what his diagnosis is. And Ancelotti also was critical of Nacho's decision before the game, saying Nacho usually is a player who doesn't make bad decisions, but he did in that moment. Can you, I don't know, like just a brain fart? Like, how else do you explain that?
Yeah, I think so. I really don't know. I mean, anybody looking at that, like I was surprised the ref gave a yellow initially. Like anybody looking at that knew that that was a red card.
Yeah.
And he took one look at the screen and then changed his mind. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I think he maybe felt that Savio was in if he beat him and just wanted to take him down, but didn't need the cleats to be that high. And honestly, it was so late in the game that even if they did score, it wouldn't have mattered. Like I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking.
Did you see any of Ancelotti's quotes after the game?
I think I saw most of them. I don't know if I saw all of
Well,
them yet.
there was some good explanations, tactical explanations as to why he chose Camavinga, and he also explained Bellingham's role, which kind of confirmed what we were saying about the change in formation of sorts. So he says, quote, to avoid Vinicius having to defend a lot, we placed Bellingham a bit more to the side, and the defensive effort of the team as a whole was good. And regarding Camavinga, he says, Mendy hadn't played for a month and we wanted to rest him. We thought about starting Fran Garcia, but with Vinicius on that wing, we needed a left back with the characteristics of Camavinga to help with the pressing after losing the ball. I think he did well. So I think he was thinking about, like, if Vinny's not going to be defending much on the left wing, he thought about that. And I think it worked. Apart again from that initial first 5 minutes, I thought we defended really well, and the player selection was a lot to do with that. Again, I think it's great to see Bellingham. I mean, he's still scoring, so like I don't think he's going to stop scoring that much. I think he's going to continue to get a lot of goals this season. But just to remind everyone, this guy is a midfielder who does a lot of terrific work defensively, works really hard. So it's like in one of those assets that is just invaluable, where you can just ask him, hey, tonight, make sure you cover that left wing really well. And please contribute to the attack still. And he can do that. It's just great to see him in that role.
Yeah, and what I love about Carlo is that he'll explain those tactical nuances and
He
those
will if
changes
he's
that
asked.
he made.
Just ask
Yeah,
him questions, he'll answer it.
Zidane wouldn't do that.
No, Zidane wouldn't.
Even if you asked him, he would not do that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I think it's always fun to hear him be so open and kind of give that information. And so yeah, and I think we saw it, and it was nice for him to confirm that today. And I think to your point, like having a guy like Bellingham and just maximize, it looks like Carlo just maximizes all of the players' characteristics and maximize the best way possible to kind of mitigate any impact Girona could do, obviously, and shore up the defense after Atleti. So I think we often say like Carlo deserves more credit as a tactician, and tonight he got it right against. Hey, these guys are the league leaders. They scored the most goals, right, out of anyone in La Liga. So, and we not only kept a shutout but scored 3 goals. So,
Yeah.
Carlo, credit to Carlo.
Yeah. You and I both have to wrap it up soon, be with our families. But is
One
there any...
thing,
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to ask you though, 2 games Luka Modric hasn't played. You think that's a message? Like, and then we know, I mean, or I feel like I've heard before that Luka's very vocal when he doesn't play, like gets really pissed off. Um, and Danny Ceballos looks to have at least be the one getting the minutes here, or leapfrogging him after the Atleti game. Do we make anything of this, or is it just 2 games and let it go? Or
I don't know if message is the right word, but the reality of the situation is he's just right now, based on what the squad needs, like he's just not as good as the other midfielders we have right now. Like I don't know if it's a message or just like, to me, just the right decision from Carlo. And it's not to say Modric is a bad player at this stage of his career. He's obviously not. It's just that right now his priority needs to be winning games. But I don't know, like the way Carlo juggles this stuff is kind of, I don't know. I don't really understand. He has his own methods, but the biggest game of the season was the derby, and his lineup selection was just completely different in that game. And I don't know, like, why he chose that game of all games to kind of try something different and to quote unquote rest Tchouameni and all this stuff. And then in the other games, he's gone with a more, what an approach that we all think is probably a little bit better. So I don't know what Carlo's necessarily thinking, what's a message, what's not. But I thought it was noteworthy today that we didn't see Mendy, Fran Garcia, or Modric. Ceballos gets in, and Camavinga just plays the whole game at left back. I don't know if it's a message or if it's just Carlo maybe just analyzing what the team needs right now. And I don't know. Like, thing is with Ceballos, you always get frenetic energy and effort and incredible pressing from him when he's on the field. Today, like, you can't really analyze anything because he came in the 90. It was after the 90th minute, wasn't it? Or pretty close to it. And maybe he doesn't want to put Modric there for the last 2 minutes. So it wasn't really consequential, I think, that Ceballos was ahead of him today. But it's at least something to note.
Well, Ceballos actually was a little bit earlier. He was 74th minute. Lucas Vazquez.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Ceballos, 78th for Bellingham. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking of the late double sub, Brahim and Vazquez for Fede and Joselu. Yeah, so in that sense, it is pretty noteworthy.
Yeah, I think just one to watch. Like, let's see what happens next few games.
So, speaking of big games, possibly the biggest test of the season is in 3 days. Napoli in Naples. I guess that'll be the one where we kind of like look at, what is Carlo thinking for our best 11?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Would you be surprised if Camavinga started that one at left back?
No.
So if he starts that one at left back, then we have to like file away Carlo's words after the game where he says, we were resting Mendy. Because the idea of Vinicius playing on the left wing, I mean, he is our left wing starter forever, right? This season anyway, and in the foreseeable future. So this idea of like, we wanted a matchup to complement him, and Camavinga's characteristics fit better than Fran Garcia's. That's not going to change, against Napoli. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I think it would, like, one thing that would really confuse all of us would be like if he went into that game with Modric starting, right? We'd all just be so confused. Like, Tchouameni gets benched in that game, and then we'd all just be like, what's going on? We would be so confused. Anyways, that'll be fun. It's nice to have Champions League football back. Obviously, good start to the group stages against Union Berlin. We got Napoli midweek. That show will be exclusively for patrons. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think we got 5 straight podcasts this week. And most, or if not all of them, will be on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. So if you want access to those shows, because we get a ton of messages like after these big midweek games, like, how come you didn't upload a podcast? And we did. But you have to be subscribed to Patreon or YouTube memberships if you want access to everything. You can't just subscribe to one. So if you want access to all the midweek stuff, please make sure you're a subscriber on Patreon or YouTube memberships. And I think we'll wrap it here, Matt. Fun W, important W, and we will catch you guys. Lucas and I will be back tomorrow, so we'll catch you then. Matt, thanks for your time, buddy. Good chatting.
Yep. Thanks, Kiyan.
Peace out. All right, thank you for listening, guys. And before we send you along on your way and wrap it up here, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid who do so much to support the show. And we are so thankful you guys are part of this ever-growing Madridista family. And we wanted to give a quick shout out to our $10 plus patrons specifically because, as you know, if you pledge $10 or more per month, not only do you get access to every single thing we do, but you also get guaranteed responses to your questions, and you also get a specific shout out on the podcast. So shout out to these following $10 plus patrons as follows: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Wamik Jamal, Walker Kuvan, Tobias Oriol Botcher, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanshu Singh, Sheikh Hatiri, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuel Justin, Sam Razi, Sai Mohan, Sasi Kumar, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafati, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, Nelson Mazariego, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Naveen, Babu Ramesh Babu, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Kevin Rivera, Jose Osorio, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jeff Soa, Jason Fitz, Jacob P., Ian Marley, Howard Moore, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Connor McMorrow, Christian Toff, Christian Acosta, Carlos Fuentes, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Arnab Mukherjee, Armand Gashi, Armando L, Anthony Tharp, Andres Silvestre, Ananya Kumar, Alex Thyberg, Azaz Hussein, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Maghrour, Primo, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you so much for the support. We love you all. Appreciate you. And Hala Madrid.